Welcome, writers, readers, and friends to the Authors Talking Bookish podcast. I'm Donna Norman Carbone, author of All That Is Sacred.
And I'm Hope Gibbs, author of Where the Grass Grows Blue.
We're two debut writers traditionally published by a small publishing house, bringing to you all the experiences that we as authors learn the hard way, so you don't have to.
We'll give you insights from the inception of a book idea to publication and beyond. And along the way, we'll share our love of books from the writer's perspective.
Hey, folks. Welcome back. This is episode 45, and today we're going to talk about the right resources to set you on the path to writing and publishing and marketing. I'm Donna Carbone, and this is Hope Gibbs. Hi, Hope.
Hey, Donna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Busy. So, as this is one of my favorite times of the year, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm wearing my little horseshoe. These are little horseshoes because it was Kentucky Derby week this past weekend. And so, you know me, I love anything about Kentucky, but Derby is very special. And tomorrow I leave to go to Athens, Georgia, because my third son is graduating from college. He is graduating from the University of Georgia. So it's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. 3 kids graduated from college already.
3 down. One more in college. One more still figuring out what he's trying to do. But so graduation in Athens. So it's going to be an interesting weekend.
Yeah, I went to my first Kentucky Derby party as well. A friend of mine had it at her house, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm not really a Kentucky Derby person. Every once in a while, I'll watch the race, all of 3 minutes of it, but it was fun. I had a good time.
And please tell me you wore a hat. Please tell me.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course I wore a hat. One of those little, I don't know, those thingies that you put in your head with the comb.
That would be a fedora.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I wore. That's what
So
I
you
wore.
didn't wear like the big hat, but you wore. I love a fedora. When I've gone to Derby parties, they're easy to put in your hair, and we have this thing in Nashville called steeplechase. It's not the same as Kentucky Derby, but people here dress to the nines. So when I've gone to that, I've also worn big hats. So you know, I'm a sucker for hats. If I could wear a hat for this podcast and not look completely ridiculous, I would. Because every time you see me and we're on like a conference calls for Bookish Road Trip, I always have a baseball hat on.
I never wear a hat. I'm completely the opposite. I'm so uncomfortable in hats. I don't know why.
I love hats. So.
I know. My husband does. My husband wears hats all the time. And my daughter does too. She constantly has her ponytail coming out of the thing in the back.
I noticed on my Instagram, on my personal page, almost all of my Instagram, because I'm on vacation, I have a hat on.
Yeah.
So I guess, hats are just my thing. But what else is
what you grew up with, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, it also, my hair is naturally like fuzzy. I mean, I have the fuzziest, frizziest hair. And so just to get my hair to be smooth, it takes like 45 minutes work just styling it. And so it's just easy to throw it up in a hat.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to do what's easy, right?
Yeah, I got to do that. So anything else going on with you? Any book events?
Actually, I've been doing some book events. I've had a couple of book shows. I had one on this place called the Riverview Walk, and it was a bunch of authors coming together outside. There's a river that goes underneath it. It's very cool. That was a lot of fun. And I also had a book event at RJ Julia, which I was super excited about. That's been on my author bucket list for a while. It was an author panel, and I got to, hang out with 3 other local authors, and we talked about our books, and then we did a book signing. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about writing resources.
Yeah.
And what some of our go-to are. We have a free download for everybody. If you go to our website after the episode, you can get all of our writing resources, even, some that we don't have time to talk about today. So we're going to talk about our favorite ones, and we'll kind of go in order in terms of process. So like we'll talk about starting, the inception of ideas and putting together the backstory to your book, to writing your book, to the querying process, and then marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you and I have talked, and I've shared this story many times here, when I wrote my book, I didn't start out to write a book. It
Hmm.
was just kind of a way for me to process being an empty nester. It was kind of through journaling, which I hated. And then I just started creating a book. And so I wrote a book and had really never read anything on how to actually do it. And it was when I realized I had 120,000 words. I had a story there, but not told in the right way.
Right.
That's when I dove back in and found some of these books that we're going to discuss, and they really, really helped me. They completely changed the way my book was told.
Yeah. I think one of the benefits of being a teacher and a teacher of writing is that I have gone to these books first to help me build lessons for my
Mhm.
lesson plans for my writers. And so that, in and of itself kind of helped me as a writer know what was out there, and also kind of, the I don't know, the different parts of a story, how to create characters, how to create backstory, and all those things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off with a book that I use a lot with my writers. It's called Writing Down the Bones, and it's by Natalie Goldberg. And this is something that I would use before anybody even starts writing a novel.
Hmm.
This I would use to just kind of get the creative juices flowing. She has a lot of exercises in this book. She'll talk about things like showing versus telling, and then she'll have an exercise for you to do. And so this is so helpful for that before you even, you know, think to yourself, oh, maybe I'll write a book, or maybe this is the book that I'm going to write.
Yeah. And so we have this list, and Donna, you were great about putting a lot of these books on there. And I have some that were really important to me. One of them is Save the Cat, Write
Mhm.
a Novel. And I know so many authors who, if you ask them about books on craft, this is the book
Mhm.
they're going to direct you to.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great book for planning out your story, planning out the rising action, the climax, the falling action, all of that. This is wonderful for plot. And she also has some actually, I think she has downloads for this somewhere, because I feel like I got a worksheet for my students, but she also has in the back of the book just some visual things to help you like visually plot out your book.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I can tell it's well used. Are those
Oh,
Post-its?
oh no. Yeah.
So one of the books that I absolutely loved and recommend, and I don't have the actual book because I am a Kindle reader. I'm always on my phone. It is The Emotional Thesaurus.
Hmm.
And this book, and I've talked about it so many times, and I have it on my phone because it's really easy because I can just type in what I'm looking for. So the
Yeah.
Emotional Thesaurus,
Yeah. I'll hold it up.
that's it. It
Hmm.
goes through, it defines pretty much every emotion that you can imagine. And you're
Yeah.
thinking, okay, well, I know the definition of angry. Yes.
I'm
But
gonna.
what this book does, it tells you not just the definition, but how it feels to be angry. What internally do you go through? And then it also will tell you what it looks like when someone else is angry. And the reason this
Mm.
is important is writing point of view. So the first thing with anyone when you're writing, you need to know what point of view, what voice you're writing in. And for me, the first book I wrote in was in third person. So you don't want to say this character, he said angrily. We talked about
Mm.
that in our last episode.
Mm.
You need to, because that's telling you, you don't want to tell how someone is. So, but with showing, because my character, I don't know what he is thinking. I have to describe what he is showing, his outside emotions.
Yeah.
If someone's concerned, their eyebrows will maybe rise,
Right.
or maybe they'll, tilt their head. That's something that, you don't want to just always tell someone. You want to show it. And it also helps with your character, how they're feeling. And I have to say, it was a game changer. It is on my phone. Whenever I am writing, I always have that, just keyed up, ready to put in, okay, my character, she's worried. Okay, what does that feel like? And it gives you not just one example, it gives you at least 15 examples on each emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just opened up randomly to a page, and I'm just going to share a few things just so
Yes,
people
thank you.
can kind of get an idea. So I've got a character, and my character feels guilty about something. So I open to the guilt page. They're all in alphabetical order, all the emotions. It has a definition at the top, and then underneath there are physical signals. And I'll just read a couple: turning away, shifting about, chin dipping to the chest, blushing. And then, and like Hope said, I bet it has 30 different
Mhm.
physical signals here. And then internal sensations. So if you're talking about, if you're writing in the first POV and you're trying to get like how the character is feeling inside, upset stomach, tight chest, pain in the back of the throat. Like these are things that I wouldn't even think of. And I
Yeah.
know when I'm writing, like I'll sit there and I'll think, okay, when I feel guilty about something, what am I doing? And
Mhm.
this just opens up that whole world, you
Completely.
know? The next one is a mental response. So something that you're thinking, replaying what happened over and over again in your mind. Thoughts filled with self-loathing, wishing you could go back and change what happened. Next is cues of acute or long-term guilt. And there's probably about 15 of those: depression, exhaustion, nightmares. So as you're planning out your character moving forward, if it's imperative that you show this guilt, these are some of the things that you might see down the road. um, may escalate to, and then it has different emotions that it may escalate to, and then cues of suppressed guilt.
Mhm.
So these are just some of the categories that this book has. And
Yeah.
the other thing I want to point out too is that there's a series of these. So there's the emotional thesaurus, there's the conflict thesaurus. There is, let me just actually have on for me. The
And they're
emotion.
great. They are also great. And talking about that while you're looking for the book, last episode we were talking about how to create well-developed characters, and just what you said about guilt, all those little things about the ramifications,
Mm,
those can give you insights on your character. It
yeah,
helps you develop not just in dialogue, it helps you create that character.
yeah. So I don't have all of them, but this is the emotional wound thesaurus.
Mhm.
When I wrote about my alcoholic character, I relied on this. Um, the emotion amplifier thesaurus. So this is like the second version of the first one that we talked about. And then I've used this quite a bit too, the conflict
Yeah.
thesaurus. Um, and this has different things like being unable to forgive someone, being taken for granted, being insulted. So, yeah, this is
Yeah.
really helpful as well.
Yeah, that's a great series. Well, let's go and look at some other books.
Yeah.
I know this is a book that you've talked about, Write the Damn Book,
Yeah.
by Elizabeth Lyon. Why did that book really speak to you?
Um, I just think Elizabeth Lyon is one, she's a writing coach, first of all. I think she's an editor too, and she's also an author. And she's a podcast host. So she talks to many, many, many authors. She's one of the most down to earth people that I have met in this industry. And she really gets the things that people struggle with. And she's very honest and forthcoming about her own struggles. And so I think like going to, either her podcast or her book, she offers really great advice that is very practical and very connectable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Another book that we have talked about too that I want to mention is, we talked about this in our last podcast, The Story Genius by Lisa Crone and Wired for Story by Lisa Crone. These are really good character development books. So
mhm.
if you're looking for developing your characters, as we mentioned, listen to our last episode. As we mentioned in the last episode, these are very helpful for that.
Yeah. And I'm just
Yeah.
going to go over a couple of more of these. Another one is where you talked about the conflict, but
Mhm.
Launchpad, the countdown to writing your book, and that is from one of our dear friends, Grace Salmon, and also Emma. There's also Everybody Writes, and then I'm going to go to a different grouping.
Mhm.
And one of the books I want to talk about, and I have not spoken with you about this one, is What Everybody is Saying. And so I discovered this book recently, and it's from a former FBI profiler, and he
Mhm.
talks exclusively about body language. And it was
Oh.
kind of like with the emotional thesaurus, it
Mhm.
really opened my eyes up to describing how people act in certain situations, from tapping their foot to, looking down, and even the way they cross their feet. And I gobbled that book up. It's not a book on writing, but it can help you
Oh, wow.
write characters and
That is
write
so interesting.
situations. I absolutely love that book. I think I read it in a
Mm.
day. And so I added that, even though it's not technically a writing book, it can
Yeah.
help you with scenes and developing characters.
Oh, I'm gonna
So that
check
was,
that out.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but why don't we talk about one of these on this list that
Sure.
you love?
Before and After the Book Deal by Courtney Mound. This is a great book for everything. A writer's guide to finishing, publishing, promoting, and surviving your first book.
Yes, I have
Um,
that book.
I love it.
Yeah.
I bought this when I hadn't published All That Is Sacred yet, but it was in the works. And so I really bought it to kind of give me a roadmap to, what I would do after publishing. But she really starts like even before that, making time to write, setting writing goals, getting out there, like putting your writing out there. And so she really runs the gamut. And I learned a lot of things about marketing my book from
Yeah.
her. After I published my book, I went and read it again to see what I had missed, because then at that time, I knew, some of the things that I needed to do as an author. And so when I had read it the first time, I didn't. So I kind of jotted down some things and I went back afterwards to read it. And this book, it's a go-to for me.
Yeah. And before we're going to get ready to switch gears and not just talk about books, but the last book I do want to talk about, and we do have a list, and
Mhm.
please go download this list, was a book series that helped me quite a bit, and it was the Busy Writer's Guides.
Mhm.
I got the one on dialogue, the internal dialogue, point of view, and as I have told you, I struggled so
Mhm.
much with showing and not telling, and I have these books are all clustered on my phone as well, and they give you so many examples. They also show you like a sentence that you would think, especially with the show not tell, you're thinking, oh, well, that's a well-written sentence, but then they
Mhm.
go back and tell you everything, that how much better it can be and where your pitfalls are. And for me, it's really helpful to see an example of something that it looks okay, but then they go in and they dissect it.
Yeah.
And so I really relied on those four books. And there's even more. There's a whole series of them.
Huh.
So that was a book series that really helped me. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about something different, about things you can find online. Do you want to start off with the first one, Donna? Because I know that this one has really been near and dear to your heart.
Yeah. You know what? Spoiler alert, NaNoWriMo is shutting down.
What?
I know. I just found out about it this week. I have to remove that from our list. So NaNoWriMo is shutting down. They had a lot of issues in the past year, and they also said that there are other organizations that are kind of coming up, and they don't think it'll be the end. So let me explain what NaNoWriMo is, because you
Yeah.
don't need NaNoWriMo to do
No,
this.
you don't. But I love the
Um,
concept of this.
I do too. And it really kind of set me on a path to using it to not complete my first draft, but get me through the first 50,000 words of my
Yeah.
first draft. It's stands for National Novel Writing Month. And so what the premise is that you're going to commit November to writing 50,000 words, which is roughly about 1,700 words a day. Um, and it's kind of a, friendly competition. You get an award at the end. I loved like the little benchmarks that it would show you. You would write down the word count that you did each day, and it would just kind of show you a graph moving up and up and up. And so that helped me be accountable to myself. So, you certainly can do that on your own. You don't need NaNoWriMo for that. You can decide, you know what, I'm going to take the whole month of April and I'm going to write 1,500 words a day and just track your progress. Hold
Yeah.
yourself accountable for 1 month. And honestly, you will get almost a complete first draft of a novel in a month.
Yeah, and as I've always said, because I've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing my creative writing for every other thing, and I'm trying to get back into it. It's
Yeah.
kind of like exercise. If
Yeah.
you do it every day,
Mhm.
it's easier. You've strengthened that muscle. And it's
Yeah.
like if you haven't gone to the gym in, 2 months,
Mhm.
that first time back on the treadmill is going to be really hard. So that's what I loved about the idea of this is that if you write 1,700 words a day, that doesn't seem that daunting.
Right.
50,000 words, that seems daunting, but I love that process. But thank you for that scoop. Another person that we have found, both of us have found very beneficial, would be Writer's Digest.
Mhm.
They have so many resources and articles that really can help you.
Yeah, I just attended a writing conference. When was it? It was the end of March by Chuck Sambushino put it together, and he is part of the Writing Digest. He writes for Writer's Digest all the time, and it was so helpful. But Writer's Digest is a wealth of information. They
Yes.
have how to articles. They have contests that are going on. They have um, new acquiring like agents who are acquiring work. So it's really beneficial to sign up and you get like a newsletter. I don't know. I maybe get one a week. I'm not sure, but I know that I am signed up and I get updates pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And it lets you, they have a huge conference in New York City every year. And then there are also other writer conferences and retreats that are advertised through Writer's Digest. So I
Yeah.
think that's a really helpful source.
And we have this whole section, and again, you will find this on our website. But we need to go on to our last area that we both find very beneficial,
Hmm.
and that's things that you can find on the internet. And one of the things that was really helpful for me, not actually for writing, but for getting a publisher and to get my book out there, was Publishers Marketplace. I subscribe to that because if you subscribe, you get a lot more detail.
Hmm.
And for me, it was great trying to identify publishers and agents in my genre.
Hmm.
And but it's more than just that, who's selling what, it's what they're acquiring. It
Yeah.
can help you with trends because a few years ago, the trends were all about kind of like supernatural witches and all of that.
Mhm.
But it gives you kind of where the market is going because the market is constantly changing.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was very beneficial. Now that is going to be an expense.
Mhm.
You may not want to keep it going all the time, but if you are looking to, sell your book rights, it is very helpful.
There's also a free version of that, which
Yes,
is very limited, but,
very limited. Yes.
one of the things that I really like about that is when I was querying, agents and publishing houses, it shows you what they have acquired
Yeah.
recently. So, that also helps to see which agents are very active and which agents are in your wheelhouse. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really important source.
Yeah, and also you can also another one that I did use. I did use a little bit of Query Shark. I don't use it now, obviously, and
Mhm.
Query Tracker. So
Yeah.
those are both things that you and I have both talked about. But let's talk about something a little bit different. It's not about craft. It's not about writing your book. It's about how to market your book. And
Mhm.
Donna, you found this man, and he really has changed the way that I approached Facebook ads. It was a game
Oh.
changer. And
Mhm.
talk a little bit about him because I think any author that is, I don't care if you're self-published, I don't care if you're with the big publishers. He is amazing.
Yeah, David Graugan, I think is the way that you pronounce his last name.
Yes.
He's an Irish guy. He's fun to
Yeah.
listen to. Has a thick Irish brogue. Um, but yeah, I subscribe to his newsletter as well, and I kind of happened upon him. There was a very short time I was thinking about self-publishing until it got very overwhelming for me. But he really works with self-publishing writers
Mhm.
and does a whole host of things. He has a lot of YouTube videos out there, but the thing that Hope and I found most helpful from him is advertising on Facebook. He
Yes.
has some how to advertise on Facebook, and that's something that both of us do. He will walk you through the entire process, tell
Mhm.
you the pros and cons of different choices to make, how to set up your graphics, what to do in terms of, money, how much money to put into it. And he comes out with a newsletter monthly that updates those topics.
Yeah.
So yeah,
He's
he's been great.
definitely someone to put on your list.
Yeah.
Another one we've talked about, we actually have interviewed Susie Approved Book Tours.
Yeah.
That is great if you are trying to get reviews for your books. We've interviewed her. She's awesome. You and I've both worked with her. She's
Yeah.
incredible.
Mhm.
Because we only have a few more minutes, is there one on this list that you really want to just take a moment and talk about?
Yeah. I want to talk about NetGalley because I use NetGalley. I did a co-op with Victoria Co-op, I think it's called. Um, and I did a co-op, which means that you go in with other authors in terms of expense, and it was minimal. And it's quite expensive. I think it's like $400 a month to join NetGalley on your own. And NetGalley is a place where librarians and readers go to read arcs of people's books and review them. And I got so many reviews from that NetGalley co-op that I did. I think I did it for like 2 months when Of Lies and Honey was coming out. And I thought that was so beneficial, and I would definitely do it again. I still am getting um, results of people who downloaded the book initially and didn't read it right then, but I'm still getting the results of their reviews now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a year later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a reader, let's be honest, that's a
Yeah.
great deal. NetGalley, I mean, you get
Yeah.
to read these books. So
Mhm.
so that's beneficial for both the authors and
Yeah.
also for readers.
Yeah.
We could talk about this all day, but we do have that free download,
Yeah.
and there's some great books on craft, great books on marketing, great
Mm.
books on how to get reviews. So definitely
Also,
check that
article
out.
links. We have article links on there that
Yes, we
you
do.
can, yeah, copy and paste.
Yes, and
Um,
you can find that at our website at authorstalkingbookish.com. And again, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, and Instagram. And we're gonna put some of these books on Instagram as well, so you can find it there as well.
yeah. And our next episode is an interview with Jenn Bouchard, who is the author of 2 books. Considering Us just came out within the last few months, I believe, and First Course came out a couple of years ago. So we're looking forward to meeting Jenn and chatting with her in just 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, Donna, I this has been a great episode, and there's really not much of a do now as much just to download and to do your own research. And also, if there's some books out there that we need to read, please, as the audience,
Mm.
I would love a book recommendation or a website or an article that will help.
Yeah, and you could do that by you could message us on
Yes.
Instagram, or there's a contact form on our website that you could fill out to make recommendations. That's a great idea.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and until next time.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Hope Gibbs.
And I'm Donna Norman Carbone. It's time for you to get to work.
We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks with another tip from your author friends.